and welcome to the Grumpy Pony podcast. This week we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do it by video because, as you may or may not know, England is in a lockdown at the moment. So it means obviously we can't have the shop open, and we're doing a lot of stuff online. And with the podcast, we're going to do it remotely. And this week I am joined by Tony. So Tony, there we go.
Hi.
It's away from the Millennium Falcon.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And so today we're just going to have a little chat. So if you got, like always, these podcasts, it's really designed if you want something to listen to while you're doing some painting, or if you just want something in the background, or you want to hear us talk some geeky stuff for a little while. This is the podcast for you. And I think today it's going to mostly be 40k and Age of Sigmar. Well, mostly Age of Sigmar, I think. So I've got some Age of Sigmar stuff I want to chat about. And I know you've got your hands on the Deathwatch Codex, so we'll go over that.
Yeah, I picked that up from you earlier.
Yeah. So, we'll go through those bits. So the first thing I wanted to chat about really was sort of having lockdown and it being all remote and stuff at the moment. So we've sort of kind of gone over that now already. But mostly for the most part now, we're just doing online stuff. So we're only taking orders online, and it's sort of kind of weird having the shop completely empty. I know, like before in the last lockdown, it was all a bit new. Now it's just weird. Like people aren't around. It just seems like a bit of a ghost town.
It's I guess I think maybe we're all starting to get used to not having people, not being in a workspace, not being in a shop. It's becoming a new norm, and it doesn't. I mean, and other than the fact that we can't actually physically go in anymore, it just feels. It doesn't feel that different this lockdown now, even though we can't do quite as much. Like having gone into lockdown from what we were doing before. I don't know what other people were doing. Yes, okay, we can't play games in the back, but it's only for a month.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get through it and we'll be fine. It just depends on how well the website does, I suppose. So we'll go from there. But yeah, it's just a weird time, really weird time. And the community at the Grumpy Pony has always been really, really strong. So I'm pretty sure we'll be all right. We'll get through it. It's just sad not to be able to see people and to chat to people. I think having the shop sort of open again for that period of time and then going back into a lockdown has made me sort of miss it more.
Yeah.
Because it's like I say, first time round, it was almost like a bit of a novelty, and now I got to get back and sort of see everyone again, and people coming in and checking on each other and all that, and then going back to sort of, oh no, we can't sort of meet up or do anything. I'll just be glad when it's over, and if it is just for a month, I do just hope it is for a month, because any longer than that, and I think that's going to be really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing, as far as you've been concerned for the shop, maybe.
Yeah.
Games Workshop seem to be pushing out so much new stuff all the time.
Well, yeah.
And that can't have done anything but help you.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's always good to have
every week there's something new coming out from Games Workshop at the moment.
Yeah.
And you've got this great community with the Grumpy Pony that whenever something comes out, somebody wants it.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, so hopefully it just keeps up and we can just power through and be all right. It's always hard to tell. But yeah, it's hard not to be a little bit nervous about it when it is like a bit all locky downy. I don't like it.
But I mean, certainly from my perspective, and I'm sure for everybody else that's buying stuff from you and that's used to coming into the shop to pick up stuff, I pre-ordered all the kit for the Deathwatch. I got the dice and the book and the cards, pre-ordered all of that, and then I came down today. I could have come down on Thursday. No, I couldn't have come down on Thursday because I couldn't have officially picked it up. Yeah. But I came down today, and I was able to stand outside. You were operating a click and collect service, which you're quite legitimately able to do. Yeah. We were able to say quick hello. Well, I say quick hello. It was about 15 minutes standing outside your shop.
Yeah.
pick up all the stuff. I know it's not quite the same as coming in, sitting down, having a cup of coffee, but you still, from the customer perspective, I was still able to get over there, have a chat, pick up what I wanted.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. Like, obviously, it's really telling. Like, I think there's some people that are just nervous about going out now. I think as well, they just don't want to go. And that's totally fine. I totally get why they would be. It's just it's not ideal for anyone really at the moment.
Pandemic is so inconvenient.
It really is. It really is. Could do without it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the depressing stuff out of the way. I'm not going to talk any more about it.
Okay.
Although I probably will. I'll probably mention it. But one of the other the positives is that I've been focusing loads on the YouTube channel and stuff like that, and did my first sort of Grumpy Pony news.
I watched it.
Yeah. Can I add anything else?
Yeah. I think we're gonna debunk your tinfoil hat theory.
Listen, my tinfoil hat theory is solid.
Look, I would love to see some crazy mushroom soldier head things.
That'd be great.
They would be amazing, but they've already said that's definitely not happening.
This is unfortunate.
And,
what's that picture of then?
There's lots of alien races out there, but they're not going to create a new playable faction.
Why not?
I mean, I suppose they did with the there's a new Chaos faction, isn't there? Is it Fabius Baal, Sons of Baal or something?
Oh, Fabulous Bill.
Fabulous Bill.
Yeah.
And didn't they create a new
well,
faction?
he was sort of creating a new human race, wasn't he? So he's been working on like a new version of humanity, which are a lot more sort of predatory and feral.
Okay. I actually don't know very much about it, but I'm fairly sure I saw something about there being a new faction.
Well, I mean, they kind of are. They're his new humans sort of thing. So I guess they kind of are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody will know something about it and can make a comment.
Yeah.
About this new faction.
Yeah.
But there are not going to be any big walking mushrooms.
Well, this is unfortunate because as a Gloomspite Gits player, big walking mushrooms are the future.
Unless you want to sort of create your own, Tyranid alternate mushroom army, maybe that could work.
Well, that could be a thing. You could be onto something. Get someone onto that.
Or just get a load of Tyranids with the mushroom. And what's the I can't remember what they're called. That begins with C. But we get them on Earth. We get them on Earth. We get them in the real world, and they infect mushrooms.
The mushrooms, the fungus that does it.
Strange thing coming out of the forehead.
Yeah. Yeah. The Snackrot, the Loon King for the Gloomspite Gits, has a staff that shoots fungus spores at enemies. It's really good. Because basically, if you take a wound, if you take a wound,
a bit more leg there than I think the rest of us wanted to see.
So I'm wearing shorts. So, if you take a wound with that, then you just continue to take wounds on it, even if you heal it back up, because it just constantly is growing.
Eating away.
Yeah,
Lovely.
which is great. But yeah, it's only one wound, but after a while, it's gonna be chipping away at you, and you have to keep sort of re-healing that guy up rather than doing your other stuff. So I quite like that. Gloomspite Gits are great for that sort of stuff. It's always about bringing people down to your level rather than trying to fight them fairly.
That seems fair. That seems very Goblin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way goblins should be used. But you're working on goblins as well at the moment, aren't you? Well, I say you're working on goblins. Yeah.
So I think I've got them all together, although I might get another pack of Spider Riders. But what have I got? I've got 30 Spider Riders at the moment. I've got one of the big Arachnarok ones with the wizard on top.
Yeah.
And the Grot boss on a big spider.
Nice.
So I think it's 1,000 points.
About 1,000 points, I was going to say. That's actually one thing I did want to talk about today, and I completely forgot about it earlier, is talking about starting a new game. And because people always ask me what the best way to start in any game is, and I always say start small. And one of the things I always like to do with Age of Sigmar is whatever army I pick, the first thing I do is build a 1,000-point list with that army. And I kind of do it with 40k, but not as much. And I always find that my 40k armies are a little bit less coherent than my Age of Sigmar armies. If that makes any sense.
So I know from past experience, like with the 40k army, I guess we're all probably guilty of it. I think, certainly when I started thinking about my Death Watch, it started off as 1,000 points worth of Death Watch.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe I could have, you can't, because it's very restrictive. So maybe I could occasionally swap out, and instead of having the watch captain, I might have a librarian.
Yeah.
And I quite like one of those repulsor tanks. Those are really cool. And then before you know it, you're like, I'm up to 1,500 points. Maybe I'll build a 1,500 point list. And then before you know it, you say, well, most people are playing 2,000 points. I should build a 2,000 point list. But then I don't want to just keep bringing the same thing, because if you bring the same thing to a competitive game, people just build lists to kill.
Well, they work you out, yeah.
So, yeah, great. Start with 1,000 points. It's a good place to start, and once you've got it, you can really learn that 1,000 points. But I would always, if I'm starting any new army, you start with the core of your army. But you will always want to buy new things, try new things out.
Yeah, well, of course. But like you say, if you've got that core, and your core is normally going to be, if it's going to be that 1,000 points, like I did it with the Fire Slayers. I just got 1,000 points of Fire Slayers. I played them, enjoyed playing them, but I was like, okay, well, actually, I don't know if I want to progress with that army anymore. And by that point, you haven't made a huge investment in that army, so it's not like you've gone 2,000 points in straight away. You can sort of play around, see if they're for you or not, and then move on like to something else.
I guess I don't know, from my limited experience with Age of Sigmar, like 1,000 points feels like a reasonable small game.
It's a small game. It is a small game.
And I guess one of the things I was saying, you build more units. You build up the 2,000 points, and then you end up with like 3,000 points or 5,000 points of more Imperial forces I have now. But it gives me the ability to chop and change and swap things out. But the alternative to that, as you sort of demonstrated, is certainly with the Age of Sigmar, is you build 1,000 points of, say, Fire Slayers, and then you build 1,000 points of Gloomspite Gits, and 1,000 points of this, and 1,000 points of that, so that if we say we're going to play a game of Age of Sigmar, I'm not thinking, he's bringing his Gloomspite Gits. I know exactly what he's got. I know exactly how to counter them.
Yeah, mind you, I do have like 5,000 points of Gloomspite Gits.
Okay, well, everyone's got their favourite army, right? But rather than just having that core, that 1,000 points, you can either buy more things and make a more varied army that allows you to try different things each time, or just buy a whole new 1,000 point.
Yeah, and you can, it means
those big gargants.
Well, I mean, it's very quick to do 1,000 points with those guys.
Yeah,
like they're like 490 points each.
So 2 of them.
Yeah, so it'd just be 2. So to make it a legal army, though, you still need to take the little guys, the regular gargants as well. So to make it a legal army, you would need 1 mega gargant and then a unit of 3 gargants, man crusher gargants, and then that'd be 1,000 points, because that'd be about 490 as well, I think. So you'd be just a little bit
restricted army. I guess it's kind of the Age of Sigmar equivalent to
Imperial Knights. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was talking about it in one of my videos, that the way I'm thinking of running that army is, because originally I was going to have, you got the 3 big guys just doing their own thing, and then essentially 2 units of 3 of the man crusher gargants. But with Age of Sigmar, it is, well, not exclusively, but pretty much all the games that I've played recently have been objective based, and you've got quite a few objectives on the table. And you get rewarded for holding more of them than your opponent, similar to some of the scenarios in 40k. Problem is, if you've only got 4 or 5 actual units on the table, Like
You
you're
struggle.
going to be struggling to hold enough to get any sort of advantage. Um,
So
even with the abilities of guys being able to kick objectives across the table.
they can kick objectives across the
Yeah.
table.
Get off my land.
So with the knights, I know that in order to sort of counter the fact that they would often have model count wise, they would be at a deficit. I think they made the knights that they counted for like 10 models for the purpose of holding an objective. I don't know if they've done something similar with the Gargants. Or...
Well, my 2,000, I think 2,500 points, or just under, is 9 models.
But do the Gargants count as extra models when they're trying to hold an objective?
Yes. Yeah, they do. I haven't got the battle tome to hand, but the Mega Gargants count as 30, and they can count as more if you give the general a command trait. You can count as more. And I think every Man Crusher Gargant is 15, counts as 15, but that can go up to 20 as well. You can increase it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's per Gargant, so can work out. Yeah, but what I'm thinking is, although you've got that, you've got to physically be there to hold it.
Yeah.
And if you've only got, like I say, if you've only got those few units, as good as they are, you're going to get surrounded pretty quick by other units. I mean, I was talking to James the other day, and he's telling me about he thinks his Idenef Deepkin have got a good counter for a lot of the behemoth stuff because they've got monster hunting units. So I'd be really interested to see how they actually play against each other.
Whereas I think my spiders just kill everything.
Well, they're goblins, so goblins do have the advantage of being awesome. So that'd be another one.
They haven't actually made it to the table yet.
Nope.
They are mostly assembled.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see them because they'll use the Gloomspite battle tome, but they're essentially their own mini faction anyway. So it'd be quite good to see them on the table. And you getting Nick to paint them?
He's expressed an interest in painting the spiders. So
yeah.
Once I get the case and everything's sorted out, then he may have a stab at them.
Awesome. No, that'd be cool. Be cool to see them. Always like goblins though. Any excuse to get goblins on the table. So I was going through the armies that I've got at the moment, and it pretty much exclusively destruction for Age of Sigmar. I think I've only got 2 Chaos armies, and I think that's it. There's no good guys at all.
What about the dwarves? The dwarves are good guys, aren't they? Fire Slayers?
Well, yeah, I've got the Fire Slayers, but it's 1,000 points, and I don't even think I'm going to sort of pursue that army, though.
Okay, and weren't you talking about getting... what were they? They were the human army.
The Cities
of
Sigmar.
A load off.
Cities of Sigmar.
But yeah, there you go. They're good guys, aren't they?
I find it hard to be excited about good guys, though.
Well, I think that says more about you than it does about the game.
Seems unfair.
I'm sure the viewers will agree.
Yeah, goblins are great.
So what was the next thing?
But because of that, though, because of that whole thing, I am doing loads of reading up on Idenef Deepkin and Lumineth Realm Lords because I might have a stab at doing 1,000 point lists of them because they are like proper good guys, aren't they? Like elf stuff. So yeah. I'll give those a go.
Keep turning the light on. There you go.
Oh, there you go. You keep starting dropping out. It's like you've got like a spotlight on you, isn't it?
That's it. I've just got lots of screens. I'm sitting at my work desk at the moment, and all my computer screens are illuminating my face, which they have a tendency to do into the early hours of the night.
Oh no, I don't know why that just reminded me, but yes, as far as good guys go, wouldn't mind giving Caradron Overlords a go because of a certain Mr. Bugmanson that's coming.
Yes, I saw the model. In fact, I have the model up in front of me.
Yeah, he's cool.
He does look very awesome and would, I guess, fit the Canhydron Overlords nicely.
Yeah, and I do have like just a unit of old dwarves that I built and painted years ago, with the other Bugman in it. So the other Bugman's Rangers, the old ones with all the guys with like
Yeah,
the,
I think
the big
yeah,
axes.
show me. Yeah.
I've got a load of those. So some old dwarves, and I've got some Caradron Overlords in there with a gun hauler. So why not chuck
Yeah.
in
But
Mr.
those
Bugman?
aren't the dwarves you really want.
Yeah, yeah, that could be one. That could be one.
That's not the dwarf army you really want to pick. There's a different dwarf army you really want.
What's the dwarf army I really want?
Well, they're not the good guys.
Oh, the Chaos Dwarves, right? Yeah, but they're not here yet. Yet they're coming.
Yeah.
Telling you, they are coming. Oh, I've done something. I've clicked something there. There we go. But yeah. So, what about you with your hobby? Apart from the spiders,
So yeah, I mean, I picked up the Deathwatch Codex or Deathwatch Codex supplement today, which was a little bit disappointing for my army.
When you say that, you mean for your specific army?
For the specific stuff that I've got at the moment, I don't have a coherent force.
Right.
I mean, I've got a legal army, but it's everything that the weaknesses that it had before seem to have become more pronounced in with this codex supplement. I can't deal with the wide range of things that I thought I could, that I could in the previous edition.
Yeah.
And they seem to have specialized units much more. So in 8th edition Deathwatch, the idea was the kill teams could become a bit of a sort of jack of all trades. They could take all comers. And the trend seems to be at the moment, from what I've seen, is that you really specialize. So you're specializing, only certain combinations of units can make kill teams now.
Yeah.
And then you can specialize those kill teams to be particularly good at dealing with one particular thing. So they've got unit specialisms. So you can spend an extra 25, 35 points to give the squad like a specific rule, which is like reroll ones to wound against the troops battlefield roll. And if you take the mission tactic to do that, then it's reroll all wounds for that particular unit. So from what I've read and from what I've seen, like the Deathwatch is still quite a strong force. But if you were foolish enough to 3 years ago think, I'm going to build a Deathwatch army, and Primaris Space Marines are the way forward because they're going to be phasing out all the old Marines.
Well, there was that rumor, wasn't there? I was one of those people. I was convinced that.
And they still might.
Yeah.
But what it's meant is that I've been left with an army that doesn't have a lot of the rules that made the Deathwatch, certainly at the time that I started collecting, viable. So I'm not going to abandon them, I don't think, based on what I've read today.
Yeah.
But I think I might be putting a few more pound notes through your till.
Well, that's always good.
Before they're ready to take to the field again.
Yeah. So, because you had 3 kill teams before.
I've got about 30 intercessors, basic intercessors. I've got some Hellblasters. I've got Inceptors and Aggressors, but I can't mix the Inceptors and the Aggressors with standard intercessors. So I'm going to need some heavy intercessors.
Ah, okay, because that's new, isn't it?
That's new.
Yeah.
What I can mix the basic intercessors with is the Outriders, the bikes.
Cool.
And I need to get a few of those. They seem quite sort of viable. And then there's the Phobos stuff. Again, I don't have any of that because I couldn't take any of that before.
So that was just excluded to you before? Because I didn't know. I thought you could just take that.
No, it was all very restricted. The only thing I could take out of those sort of 3 units that I didn't have was the Reavers. Didn't have any of those. And that was it.
I do really like that pattern of armour. I think it's really cool. I like that sort of, it's much sort of lighter weight. And there's all the lieutenants and stuff that are in that Phobos armour always seem to be much more sort of like dynamic. They're like diving around, chucking grenades and stuff.
I was really... So before the supplement came out, before it was announced, the Phobos stuff I felt ought to have had a place within the Death Watch, because it really is very fitting. When you think like the Death Watch, like the idea of the Death Watch is that they're not really a big army as such. You send these kill teams out, these versatile kill teams with all of the best weaponry that the Imperium can provide them to go and do like
and
really
alien
targeted
stuff,
things. So they're alien hunters. So they're so you know, you might send the Imperial Guard to deal with the Hive fleet or whatever, but you'd send a kill team in to the Hive ship to kill the main Hive, you know, the kill brain of the main Hive ship to scatter them, or you'd send them off to kill the Orc war boss to scatter the tribes before, you know, the rest of the Imperial forces dealt with the whole army. Like
a specialist team.
Exactly that. And I feel like they've sort of lost that, and I get why they've done it, because they've tried to make it more of a coherent army rather than this sort of thematic kill team kind of thing. And then to do that, they've sort of they've kind of gone in the polar opposite. So from where they used to be, which was units that could be very, very versatile, that could sort of take all comers if you spent the points and you tooled them out correctly. It seems to be the opposite now. Like each squad seems you pay the points to really specialize them to do one specific task, kind of like Eldar, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Like you will end up with a squad that is specifically designed to kill troops, and a squad that is specifically designed to kill heavy support, and a squad that's specifically designed to do the elites or whatever. That I think is where their strength is going to come.
Yeah, but also potential weakness.
Well, yeah, potentially.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, if you get the wrong matchup on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I need to really delve into that book a bit further to see where it is. But I do know that as it currently stands, the army that I have isn't likely to be making any appearances until it's got some new additions to its forces.
Well, that's good news.
For you, maybe.
Well, we were talking about this earlier about the dice as well. And
we spoke about it briefly. I mean, I picked up the Death Watch dice because you got it for a dice set.
Yeah,
they look great. My only bugbear, I think, is the fact that the icon, the Imperial, the Inquisitorial icon, is on the 6.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
So I'm never going to see it.
Yeah,
they should put it on the 1. Then at least I get rewarded every time I roll the dice.
See, now this is where you are totally in the wrong, because the icon should always be on the 6.
Possibly, but it just means I'm never going to see it.
Because I remember I picked up some dice. This was years ago, but it's when Age of Sigmar first launched, when it first came out. I'm sure it was. And there was Games Workshop did these dice shakers with either Stormcast dice or Khorne dice, and I ended up getting the Khorne ones. I ended up getting the Stormcast ones, and the Sigmar's hammer, which is like the Age of Sigmar logo essentially, was on the 1, not the 6. Well, that doesn't make sense.
That's a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing, because you don't want to see it at that point. Because you're like, I don't want to see it.
Because you, like you may not want to see it, but it's the dice roll that we roll more than anything else.
Yeah, but I don't want to see it. I want to see that on the 6, and I'd be like, oh yeah, there we go. Well, we could put that in the comments so people can ask about that, because I've heard some very passionate arguments against having any icon on the 1 apart from a skull. Like a skull or the apothecary symbol.
Yeah.
They're on the newer Space Marine dice. But there's some. I mean, I've got some squig dice as well. And
I love the squig dice.
Yeah, I love them. Right. But
apparently your brother's not so keen on them.
As I was going to say, the only time I'd use them really is against my brother, because he reacts so strongly against them. Just for his reaction, it's worth it.
Well, look, I'm going to say it right now. I love it when those bouncy dice come out. Because for those people that haven't seen it, these are not just ordinary dice. Did you make them?
No, they were a limited edition Games Workshop release.
Brilliant. They are. Oh, the lights are gone. They are rubber bouncy dice.
What I might do is put a video up and to show you them rolling over the top of this.
Oh, they're just spectacular. You get a handful of these things and you chuck them on the table and they go everywhere.
Yeah. I'm surprised I've
you
still got
can't tell what they read because the glyphs and everything are really hard to follow.
Yeah.
So it slows the whole game down horrifically, but they're just spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great. And yeah, even if you had a dice tray, they would just bounce out of it. It's just, they're brilliant.
Perfect.
What I would use, if I ever went to a Age of Sigmar tournament, do you reckon they'd say I couldn't use them?
No, well, the only thing, I mean, were they official Games Workshop dice?
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't see a problem with it at all. I mean, like you look at them, they are not square.
Yeah,
they're all kinds of different shapes.
They're definitely random.
The argument is, are they actually balanced? Are they fair dice?
I'd say so, because they hardly ever roll a 6.
Well, this is it. I mean, I think if any opponent, certainly for the few occasions I've played you, using those dice, they do seem to roll 1s more often than anything else. I don't know if that's you, but certainly I will never stop you from rolling those dice because they're brilliant.
Yeah, they're brilliant and they roll terribly.
And they roll terribly. So,
but and saying that, I've also managed to get my hands on the old ogre dice. They're not old; they're the limited ogre dice as well. Leo popped in and actually gave me a pack.
Okay,
just amazing. Yeah, he gave me a pack, so I've got some big chunky dice now. So when I use the giants and the ogres, I've got some dice that actually fit them as well. So it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. I've got quite a bit more skin to paint on those ogres, but I'm hoping by the end of the month they'll all be done. Because I picked up the third of the big boys this week, so I've got the gatebreaker to build and spray paint, and then once he's done, that's the core of the army done. So
awesome.
I can't wait. They're gonna be great. And then I've got to find out where I'm going to put them.
Need more display shelves. Well, if nobody's coming into the shop, then you can really fill it out with display shelves.
Well, yeah, maybe if I just fill the front window up with giants, that'd be great. Do that, or I might have a look and have some elves, some filthy, horrible elves.
So I walked in there the other day, pre-lockdown, and I was kind of taken. What are the new undead ones?
The Bone Reapers.
Yeah, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So, they look pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
get the spiders built first, but there may be some Bone Reapers on the horizon, I think.
Well, there's little bits. That's what with Age of Sigmar. Some of the battle tomes. That's why I just like picking them up now, because the battle tomes have these little nuggets of lore, and they're just filling it out. And there's one. There's this one creature, and I can't remember its name now. It's the Gothizar Harvester, and all its job is to go around the battlefield at the end of the fight, picking up all the bodies, stripping all the skin off of the bones, and then just putting the bones in his backpack. So there's this big, horrible monster. And basically, all his job is, just going around skinning corpses, chucking it in the back. And they've got them in the Sons of Behemoth book. They talk about there's the Gatebreaker that really likes to just follow Nighthaunt armies around, because they leave all the buildings up for him to smash down, and I assume he's just going around picking up all these big flesh piles and eating them.
Great.
Oh,
it's a really lovely world that they seem to exist in.
Oh, yeah, there's some grim elements in it for sure. But the interesting thing with it is that things started at chaos sort of being in control, and they're slowly being pushed back. And so we've got to a point where they're sort of like, they're pushing out. There's enough space now for civilizations and stuff to start getting comfortable. And their chaos is starting to try and push them back down again. But they'll be able to sort of hold them. But it's also got to the point where I think this is where this Broken Realm stuff's going to be really interesting. Because although Marathi is technically order, she's in a position now to sort of be the thorn in the side of some of the other Order factions as well, because everyone's a bit sort of comfortable. Chaos isn't completely like railroading everyone like they were, and Nagash has also got his beachhead in the 8 points as well. So it's very different from lore that
The
I've seen.
storyline's progressing.
Yeah, it's progressing, and it's also like there's characters and things that have been killed off, and areas and cities that were set up in the early days and are now completely wiped out. And there's new cities evolving all the time. So yeah, it's really exciting actually. I've been really enjoying a lot of the lore and the sort of changeable nature of a lot of the characters as well. Like they won't, they're all very much their own creatures in their own way. So although there's so many factions in Order, there's a legitimate reason why the Ideneth would be fighting against the cities of Sigmar as well. There's lore reasons you can justify it.
Yeah, because that's always felt a bit funny when you've played games in 40k and you've got Space Marines fighting Imperial Guards or something like that. And like it always seems like, well, maybe they're traitor guard, maybe they're recently traitor Marines. Like it never, it never always seemed to sit right why you would get Imperial forces fighting each other. Other than the fact that I have an Imperial Guard army, you have a Space Marine army. We want to play a game. Yeah, we're going to play a game.
Yeah, exactly. But for people who are really sort of more interested in that narrative thing, I think they've really sort of addressed that in Age of Sigmar. So you have there's stories. I've been thumbing through the Ideneth Deepkin book over today, and there's talk of like Ideneth just basically ransacking coastal villages and taking the souls of the villagers and things to help repopulate the Ideneth and stuff like that. So, they're definitely not always very helpful to some of the populations of the mortal realms as well. And I like there's this dark fantasy element, but then you've also got, say, like the Lumineth, who are much more sort of classic light elf type.
Yeah, they look really good too, actually.
And they have their biggest thing to me at the moment just seems to be how arrogant they are. They seem really arrogant.
And I think I can get along with that.
Yeah. That's but doesn't seem like any faction is 100% anything, if that makes any sense. They're
no clear-cut good and bad. Well, when you say that, I think pretty much all the chaos are pretty bad. But there's no good.
Yeah.
There's lots of shades of bad.
Yeah. But then, there's the argument that a lot of the, in Warcry, a lot of the tribes and stuff in that are just trying to get on and get noticed because that's all they know. They've been living under chaos throughout this whole time. They're just mortals that are going, well, we just want to get noticed and get pushed up. They're not essentially evil. They just try and do what they think they're supposed to be doing, and they're worshipping the gods that they think they should be worshipping. So I don't know. But the thing as well that I've noticed that in a lot of these books, Sigmar does not come across as the most level-headed of gods. So he's very much an idiot sometimes. Sometimes when he get, if you haven't read it, in some of the first campaign books that come out for Sigmar actually gets tricked into throwing his hammer.
Okay.
Galmaraz, he gets tricked into throwing it at Archeon, but ends up losing it because he was closing all the realm gates at the time, and he thought, I might.
That's fine. I tell you right now, I know where the hammer goes. If anybody has ever played, Warhammer Quest?
Yeah.
Like the first relic you ever pick up, every time.
The hammer.
Every time I played this game. Like your level 1 character, you're in a dungeon and you find this thing and then you roll randomly for this magical loot and it's Sigmar's hammer and you're like, brilliant, I'm a level 1 character with Sigmar's hammer.
Yeah.
And then magically it manages to get transported to the next dungeon that you roll up some level 1 characters for. It's always in a level 1 dungeon.
Amazing.
So that's where Sigmar needs to go. If he's lost his hammer,
well, he's got it back now. He's got it back now. He gave it to, but he realised he couldn't be trusted with it, so he gave it to his Celestin Prime. So his Celestin Prime's got it, and he uses it like an adult rather than just throwing it around. So
Seems fair.
yeah, but there was that the advert that Games Workshop came out with. I think it must have been a couple of years ago, and it's a Stormcast going up to Sigmar saying, "You can't solve all your problems by creating another chamber." And he's like, "To hell, I can't!" So they just like creates another chamber. But that is basically like whenever I've like read any of the Age of Sigmar, I just imagine him like that, this big blowhard of a character. He's just like, "Come on, how many more Stormcast?"
Every time I imagine Sigmar speaking, I hear Brian Blessed.
Well, he's just Gotrek to me.
Mind you, he's didn't he do the voice of?
He's done the voice of Gotrek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is the voice of Gotrek now, to me. Like some people, like Sarah was saying, I was talking to a couple of people, and they were saying, "Oh, he's far too shouty." I was like, "Well, he's a dwarf slayer that's been knocking around in the realm of chaos for eternity, so he's going to be a bit shouty, isn't he?"
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah. So yeah, I like those audio dramas were quite good. There's one that I think there was a 40k one that Catherine Tate did as well. Yeah, she's I might have to look it up.
I know there was one. I mean, you know, you don't mention Catherine Tate, and I immediately go to the Doctor. And I know that there was one that David Tennant and Billy Piper did. They did some audio books, didn't they?
Was that just Doctor Who? Was it? Or?
No. 40k audio books. David Tennant and Billy Piper, but I think they were the kids ones.
Oh, no, she was Inquisitor Greyfax.
Okay.
Yeah, she's quite good in that as well. Actually, I quite like the way she. I mean, you know, it's Catherine Tate. She's got such a distinctive voice, but she's that character is not what you'd expect from an Inquisitor. You know, like I think that Eisenhorn's done it really well. The way his audio book, his books in general are just really, really good.
Eisenhorn, didn't we speak in one of the early podcasts? Isn't there a series coming up about that? Do we know what's happening with that?
Well, it was rumoured. It was rumoured, and it was going to be a Netflix thing, but I haven't heard anything else since.
I've not heard anything else.
But
I remember we got all very excited about the prospect of it, but haven't heard anything else since.
Yeah, well, maybe it's because of the pandemic and stuff that it's been delayed or whatever. But I still think that's the best way to explore 40k is through the eyes of an Inquisitor, because they just have access to everything.
Yeah,
you can sort of see everything, and you don't have to worry about doing this grand scale stuff because you can do
that. Can be the background. Who was I talking to about this? Oh, the light's gone again. I was talking to somebody about this, and how if you think of any of the big epic war movies that you've seen, like yes, they might have a big battle scene, but most of the story happens with just a small group of people, who can act independently of the battle.
Yeah, we've got Saving Private Ryan, something like that. Yeah.
You know, there's this massive, great big world war going on around them, but they're just, you know, a bunch of guys trying to get through it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think that's how it works, you know, because otherwise it becomes too big. You know, it's like if someone's chucking like huge numbers at you and you've got to try and picture that, you're like, well, that just sounds like a really big number, you know. But if it's like you can actually almost sort of familiarize yourself with a certain group of individuals, then there's a lot more stakes in it rather than just being like, oh yeah, planet full of people.
Yep.
You know, so I think that's why things like The Witcher work as well, because The Witcher's like that, where, you know, there's this sort of huge world there, but you explore it through the eyes of a Witcher, you know, who has a special kind of access to the world, so he can see everything that, say, the average guy probably couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if he did? He'd probably be killed by it. You know, it's that sort of level. And I think the Inquisitors do the same thing, that they have access to it and they have the ability to combat a lot of the stuff that they come across. You know, so yeah, I think that's why it works. I think that's why as well that Gotrek and Felix worked when those books were a thing, you know, back in the day, because although Felix was just a normal human being, he was very exceptional in his way, and he was backed up by a dwarf slayer that happened to be one of the strongest characters in the world at the time. So he was able to go and see all this stuff and be dragged along to the ride and be able to sort of hold his own to the best of his ability, which is still quite good, and still see everything that's going on, whereas a normal guy would have just been wiped out instantly. I just think it works. Yeah.
Thanks for good storytelling.
Yeah, it does. I really enjoy that. And after the Gotrek audio books, I went back and got all the Gotrek and Felix books. So I'm going back through them. I'm at Demon Slayer at the moment. They're really good. Those I love purely for the way they depict the Skaven.
I've read any of these, so,
have you not?
So, no.
The way that, because the Skaven, like, as someone who, I love goblins, and goblins are completely different from Skaven. A lot of people go, oh, aren't they kind of similar? They're not. Right. Yes, they are both like horde armies, but goblins are, they'll just mob up and they'll just swamp stuff. They're only interested in just getting through and getting as much plunder as they possibly can. Most of them aren't really scheming on backstabbing. You know, Skarsnik was like that, but most of them just want to survive the next day and just do their own thing. Skaven, they just have this constant belief that they are the best Skaven that's ever existed. And even if they're just slave rats, they think they're still the best Skaven. And if anything goes wrong, it's never because they've done something wrong or someone's done something particularly heroic against them. It's always that they've been double crossed by another Skaven. And it's always that you've upset my plans, and they're just constantly blaming each other for anything that goes wrong. And Thankwald does it all the time, where he does a lot of these sort of inner monologue. Thankwald trying to work out in his head who's possibly sent Gotrek and Felix against him this time, even though it is just blind luck that they happen to be in the same place at the same time. He's thinking that there's people in the Council of 13 backing him up, like trying to kill him, and always just the paranoia going on about it. And they're constantly eating Weirdstone or Warpstone, so it's making them paranoid and like crazy. Like he's just off his nuts constantly on stuff he shouldn't be eating. And they have things like there's a really funny bit where a messenger turns up and delivers some bad news to Thankwald, and in his little monologue it says, you know, as is tradition, Thankwald kills the messenger in a particularly gruesome way, just because that poor Skaven just happened to give him bad news. And it's just, but that is like a run-of-the-mill thing for the Skaven. They just kill the messenger no matter what, and often it's just expected.
Sounds like a rubbish job.
Yeah, but it's also just expected that the messenger will just read any message that's given to him and try and use it to blackmail the person that's giving him the message and stuff like that. So they always feel that they've got, it's just the Skaven fact, like one of the funniest factions really that's ever been created. I think they really come across like that in Gotrek and Felix.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you haven't read them, I definitely recommend it.
Which I'm assuming you stock or can get your hands on.
I can get my hands on, for sure. Them and the new Got books as well. I think the last one was Ghoulslayer, the Gotrek. So see, with that, it's interesting because Felix isn't around, they've given him a new character to sort of go around with him. And that's taken some getting used to. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad, it's just different. And it's just getting used to that different character. But she's quite capable anyway on her own. You sort of believe that she would do all right without Gotrek around.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where it's taken a bit of a getting used to, because you sort of feel like actually, as good as Felix is, he needs Gotrek around.
Well, maybe they'll come back to him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Felix is meant to be. Well, he's not dead as such, but he's not around. He's in some weird sort of pocket realm. So hopefully they'll bring him back. Yeah, I mean, the good thing with the way the mortal realms work, they could bring him back, and it would make it. you wouldn't need to do a hell of a lot to get him back in there.
You can crowbar people back into the story nice and easily. Oh, it's magic.
It's magic. The old world is the core of the old world still around, so maybe you got his essence from there or something. I don't know. And he's in a pocket realm anyway. So Grimnir put him in a pocket realm. So all we need to do is get hold of Grimnir, or was it Grungy? One of them. One of the dwarf gods.
Somebody will fill that in.
Someone will tell me. Yeah. But yeah, have you got anything else to add, mate? I think I am all waffled out.
Yeah, as I say, the only things that were really interesting for me at the moment were, did we talk about the playing cards that we just saw?
No, I don't think we did, we?
No, the Indomitus playing cards have just been announced on the, as I think it's a pre-order today.
Pre-order today, those are, yeah.
They look pretty cool. Love a good bit of iconography.
Yeah.
Although they haven't given us any idea I don't know what the actual cards are going to look like, or if it's just, as you said, I think you said the backings.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just the backings, because I think that they would show a front.
Well, so it sort of says here, 54 playing cards split into 4 suits: Imperium, Astartes, Chaos, and Xenos.
Ah,
so if there's 4 different suits, actually, and 2 Harlequin Jokers. So actually, I think maybe there might be...
That sounds pretty awesome, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, because last time they did it, they were just playing cards, like regular playing cards. So if they've got some extra bits on them, because I know some people were like, oh, I really want them to make the Emperor's Tarot. But there's no sort of definitive, this is what the Emperor's Tarot is. So it'd be really difficult to actually do that.
Well, if anybody can make it, I would assume GW would be able to define what that Emperor's Tarot is.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, you can't really make it canon, because every time it's used, it's described slightly differently, and it's been used as a sort of plot device as well, the Emperor's Tarot. So you don't really want to make it canon, because you want that flexibility to use it how you want, because it's meant to be changeable anyway. The Emperor's Tarot, they are cards that essentially change. So, unless you do hologram cards. I'm in for hologram cards. Ignore everything I just said. Bring in the Emperor's Tarot back. As hologram cards.
In the meantime, I think you could put me down for some of those Indomitus playing cards.
Righto.
I think they sound pretty interesting, and I wonder if anybody else might similarly want to get their hands on those. If you check out the Warhammer community page.
Yeah, well, they should be on my website as well. So, trumpetpony.co.uk, they'll be on there. Have I got all the builders? Should be on the home page at the moment, and that gets changed every week. As well as, was it Shadow and Pain is on there as well?
Yeah, the new box set.
The new box set for Age of Sigmar. So that's looking really good. Actually, I was mentioning earlier in one of my other videos that it went from people thinking that Slaanesh was on the way out and not being really paid any attention to actually getting some pretty glorious models, especially their characters. I mean, they haven't changed the demonettes or the sort of core of the army, but some of the characters that they've got recently and in their previous release, the new Keeper of Secrets and stuff like that.
Was the harp one?
Yeah,
that's gruesome.
Enchantress, yeah, that's awesome. Like, and the idea that the guy that makes the strings of the harp is essentially a volunteer. Do you know what I mean? It's extra gruesome. Like,
so it's ever an argument to not volunteer for stuff.
Yeah.
Or to know what you're volunteering for.
Yeah. Well, it gets whittled down in some sort of X Factor style competition with some other hopefuls, and then they become the strings of the harp. So you got him, and then you've got the new Slaaneshi Lord now that just looks like a total Slaaneshi deviant. There's just, I was surprised, because I actually was one of those people that thought, oh, maybe Slaanesh is on the way out, because there's a lot of focus on the other Chaos gods, and they were story wise as well in Sigmar. Slaanesh was pretty much out of the picture, but arguably the way he's been written now, she has been written, Slaanesh could potentially be the strongest Chaos god going.
So then, if we finish off, if we round off, we go full circle.
Yeah.
You thought that there were going to be some new mushroom people, and there definitely aren't in 40k.
It's still a possibility.
You thought that Slanesh was on his way out, and
They're not stronger
and
than
they're
ever.
clearly not. And you thought Primaris were going to fully replace standard Space Marines,
Uh-huh.
and it seems like they're not. So,
Uh-huh.
so basically, from now on, anything you say you think is going to happen, I'm just going to assume the opposite.
Listen,
I think
look,
that's the
you throw enough
safest-
theories out there, one of them's got to be right.
Yeah, but all the other ones are going to be completely opposite. So I think I'm going to hedge my bets. I'll be
Out there.
watching your next video, and if I think it might influence my purchasing in any way, shape, or form, then I'll do the exact opposite. Whatever tinfoil hat theory you come up with.
I might even just wear a tinfoil hat next time.
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, well,
Can't,
okay. Well,
can't do anything else to take the shine off your forehead.
I don't. Well, look, I can't help it. That is just the way the dome is. It's not even like it's not like I don't grease it up before the camera goes. But someone actually mentioned the other day when after one of the other videos, they said, "Did you get someone to shine it for you before the video starts?" Up? No, it's just naturally shiny. Just have a naturally shiny head.
Lovely.
Yeah. And on that note, I'll end it here. So
Brilliant.
thanks very much, Tone. Really appreciate doing the podcast with me this week. So next week we'll hopefully have you and Mark. I might see if I can get someone else to join in as well, see if they want to. And we'll do another podcast, probably chat some more about 40k and bits and the new stuff coming up. But yeah, thanks very much, Tone.
Thanks, Ben.
No worries. Right, thanks so much, everyone. And if you'd like to subscribe if this is your first time, just give us a subscribe, tick the like button and all that stuff. And hope to see you next time. Cheers, guys.